real life case about family business. Now, call me Joe. My full name is Choe Fu Lang. Thank you for having me today. First thing first, today's topic, we're going to only focus on three things. First, I would like to talk briefly about my career, and maybe that will help many of you to chart your future, think about what you want to do. I believe this is a free elective, so you are coming from all walks of degrees and different streams. So have a look, because I have a diverse background from different industries, so that may help you. Second, I'm going to talk about a case, a company whom I work for, and I have great experience working with that company. And that company is actually a listed company. At the same time, it is controlled by family. So I believe also that would be very, very relevant to today's topic. Third, some lessons learned from there about what transformed a family business into a global conglomerate. And at the same time, there are many challenges, just like any other businesses. Family business or conglomerate business, there are different challenges at different phases. Now I'm going to use that phase to talk about the challenges, at the same time to summarize it. Hopefully, in some of those topics or frameworks that you will be learning also in class by Professor. Okay? So let's. Oh, okay. Okay. This mouse doesn't work. Just a minute. Everyone can hear me, right? Can I? Okay. Yeah. Okay, about myself. Look at the logos on the screen. You will be quite surprised that they are famous names, and they are also the companies whom I work for in the last 28 years of my career. Most of them are listed, if not all. Actually, all are listed companies, either in Malaysia or overseas. And I believe that makes special case to talk about different experience. Okay? I'm going to dwell into it. My current role, I work for Petronas, the national oil company of Malaysia. Perhaps many of you will know the famous Twin Tower and the world tallest sky bridge. I think besides that, what is important here is about being executive in one of the top 10 oil and gas company in the world. There are different challenges, different learnings as well. Today, I'm not going to dive into that. I'm going to deal with one of the companies whom I work for, related specifically to family business. Okay? My role in Petronas is communication and marketing. If you see some viral posts recently that happened that Petronas has opened the first retail station, gas station, in overseas, specifically in Brazil, that will be my work. Of course, I don't do it alone. It is with our team. The model that we use is brand licensing. If you want to see it that way, it's like a franchising business, whereby the brand owner, namely Petronas, own the brand. The licensee, the local operator, will operate, invest, and run the entire show. So that would be something like if you look at McDonald's in Malaysia, is run by Berjaya Group. So Berjaya is the case for licensing, or sometimes you call it the franchisee, depending on the range of arrangement that you have, how detailed the company want to be involved in. So that's my current role. Previously, I was with Shell, another oil and gas company. The last position I had was the head of strategy. So basically, one of the biggest projects that I did was Welcome to Shell. I believe some of you would know. It's about transforming the retail experience from just an oil and gas coming to a station, pump your car and just go away, to transform that into a hospitality on the road, right? So that would be the work that I've done before. So previously, before I took on that role, I was expatriated to China. I was the sales and ops head for China. At the same time, I was also the vice chair for Beijing Hezi Gongsi, so it's a Beijing joint venture. Okay. Before that, or rather in between that, I was also in Samsung for a stint. I was a year as a head of retail. You'll see the entire team there. They were all my team. I was somewhere in the middle with the double heart. Yeah? So that was my team. Head of retail do everything A to Z about ensuring the retail experience is best for you. One of the things that you see there is Samsung Experience Centers. You see in the best shopping malls, Mid Valley, Pavilions, the most beautiful Samsung shop. That is called the Samsung Experience Center, or short form SES. So that was actually managed directly by my team, and very professional. Many of them have graduate with degrees, some with a master degree, to be able to answer any single challenges in terms of helping customers to have a great experience with the brand. At the same time, we also have many, many stores. As you know, the Lau Yard and that of the world, the digital centers, that will be the partners whom Samsung call it. So that would be the retail stint that I have. Interesting enough, there are more. Here comes today's main topic. I was 4 years in Scholastic. Many of us here do not know, except maybe for the overseas friends, maybe you know. Many locals do not know what Scholastic and what did they do, right? Show of hand if you know Scholastic before this. Not many, seriously. Yep. Do you know Harry Potter? Wonderful. That is the top brand or book published by Scholastic. Well, many more actually. So I just want to show you about my experience with the company for a longer stint, about 4 years, and what we have learned from a transformation of a family business into global conglomerate. So I'm going to show you some timelines and whatnot we can learn from. At that time when I was the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer for Asia, which was the first CMO ever in Asia, I have personally helped 100,000 students to be able to learn. One of the most touching moments is when I have students, few years old, from Kampong, from village, who couldn't speak or write in English. After using the learning system, especially home learning system, she was able to score 90 on the first paper for English and 95 on the second paper of English. Her parents speak zero English, or bahasa Malaysia saja, but she's able to transform. Now that is what makes it so meaningful for me. I'm not just working for a company, I'm able to transform lives, which I hope, humbly today, I can help you to transform your life in certain ways, okay? So some of the countries that I worked for, the 6 countries that was in Asia, and also some of the learning program that we have created during my tenure has won the best home learning in Malaysia. Okay, on the picture, you'll be interested to know who is the gentleman in the middle. His name is Richard Robinson. He's the chairman of Scholastic globally. The company was founded by his father, Maurice Robinson. I was lucky enough to have that presentation and very personal moments with an inspiring leader like himself. If you search Richard or Dick Robinson, many of them call, you will find a plethora of great write-ups about his inspiring leadership in the readings and the literacy world of English. All right. Nelson is my boss, who is taking care of the international business, and of course my immediate boss, Frank Wong, is not in the picture here. Okay, so today's topic: how does family business transform into international business? I believe many of you here might be involved in your own family business as well. Some of you might want to start a family business or start your own business. I believe it is good time to just have a look at humbly a gentleman called the Robinson family. How did he, together with his family member and a great team of experts, has transformed a tiny company in Pittsburgh, in US, into a global organization that we know today. Okay, so a video to start today's conversation.
If you think about what draws people to reading, especially young people, it's the sense of discovering the world. And So I would say it was. We've done. Thank you and the individual.
Unfortunately, Mr. Robinson passed away during the pandemic, unannounced tragically. So today's sharing will also touch on the phase that happened to the company and also to the family. So, why does Scholastic exist? I think one of the biggest myths that a lot of us, when we go into a business, is okay, I want to do something, I want to sell, I want to make million, become millionaire, billionaire. You are really looking at the wrong place. From personal experience working for a great family business as such, or any great business for that matter, you've got to know what is the problem you are trying to solve. This problem is not a minute, that kind of problem that can be solved with your AIs, whatever. It got to be something profound, something that everybody know about it. There's an elephant in the room. Nobody can solve it. Nobody care to solve it. That defines the big problem. The bigger the problem it is, the greater the reward to an entrepreneur. In the case of 1920s to 40s, try imagine that. During that time, what was the biggest problem? Well, we're talking about publishing, as you knew, will be the literacy, right? What is going on then? What was a critical unmet need in the society then? Not just in US, it's everywhere in the world, isn't it? What was that? The biggest problem is most children, especially those from less affluent families, means less money in the bank. The parents were really busy and hands to mouth and try to feed the family. Not much of leftover for the books or learning experience. And those have no or little access to books. That was the biggest problem in US at that time. So is Malaysia. So is anywhere else in the world. Well, internet was not invented then. Understand that you have no issues about access to information nowadays. Very lucky generations. In 1920s, that was not the case. So what happened? Where are the books and how do children, or what's going on with the literacy world, right? This is it. Well, children books were found. Yes, where were they? In libraries and affluent homes. Very rich family can even build a library. You saw those in movies, right? You can see them walk into the father's, unique study room with the encyclopedia, the whole set of them, wall of books. Those are for the rich and famous, affluent. Normal families, none. And the access to library, very limited. So this is the biggest problem. So what happened here is this problem propelled Mr. Robinson, the founder, which we call it the founder's moment or the founder's insight. He felt that he has an urge to do something to change the world. He can do it. It's really, really painful for a start, but this is what he did. He found that there are a couple of things he can do. So the solutions that Scholastic in the founding years that bring to the world, or bring to, in fact, just to his hometown, was Scholastic changed the way books was being available to the students. So we actually established book clubs in school. To be specific, that is the magazines, the kind of magazines that nowadays you don't really want it in your classrooms right now. Some of the society will print it and they was like, no, I don't want to read it, Those days, this is the only source of knowledge or the windows to the world. It's that important in those years. Then starting with, of course, junior high, expanding to elementary levels. In the first start, the company only have 50 schools to start with. So that's how small it is, literally within the city, right? So that is what happened. So after that, offering affordable paperbacks. Now this is important. This is where the disruptive business come in, the model. Rich and famous, remember? Expensive books, remember? Yeah? Or the all the special binder and whatnot, all the encyclopedia type, hardcover, you name it, whatever. They're super expensive. Nobody can afford it. I mean, general public can afford it. Definitely not the B40 or the what, it'll be the T, maybe T5, top 5% of the society can afford it. So he printed and he disrupted the entire literacy world by printing paperbacks. 25 cents, 30 cents, which is still expensive those days, but much more affordable because of the invention of paperbacks, right? Books need to just carry the message, carry the learnings, doesn't need to carry just the quality, right? You just carry the message enough. It's a conduit of message. So children can own their own books now. So therefore, what Mr. Robinson effectively did was democratize access to reading and allowing children to enjoy and grow up with books and transforming the children's literacy rate. So this company not just make money from selling books, they actually form a big part of US literacy rate today. Okay, is how great it is. So, and then of course the publishing landscape. Follow me so far? Now the timeline. Talking about the having the idea of this business, running to, starting it to sort of feel his way, how to solve the problem, one school at a time, one book at a time, one chapter at a time and one topic at a time. You can see the transformation. For the first 40 years, Mr. Morris Robinson was taking the helm of the company, managing A to Z. So you can see that there are 5 phases here, which I'm going to allude later. So Scholastic Story begins in 1920 and growing into the global, growing into different countries, different segments. But then, later on, pass it to his son, Richard, which is my boss, right? So Richard Robinson to take the helm actually for the next 60 years. So if you look at this family model, is kind of interesting. For the last 101 years, only 2 chairpersons, father, son, 100% family control, listed company, voting rights controlled by one person. You're seeing it. So this is a very unique family business model where you control a NASDAQ listed company, SCHL, which is the code, and at the same time, it is a family business. So the decision-making processes are unique. It's very direct. Imagine, I'm working for Petronas now. I couldn't meet 2 levels up from my superior. But in Scholastic, I met the chairman, can be quite often. It is that flat and that direct. Yeah, so that is really the interesting part about family business. All right? But interesting, why do I put a question mark there? From that son, who is Mr. Richard Robinson, who is the next person in the family, we're talking about family business here, to take over the chairperson position after the passing. As you knew, he passed away in 2021. So what happened then, right? Isn't it interesting about seeing how a family business evolve and transform? Okay? So we're going to go to that phase one by one. First, the founding phase. We have talked about that, a bit about that just now. Just go slightly into the details about the learning. You can see from 1920s, so Morris Robinson did that, launched the business to solve the problem, literally 1 classroom at a time. At that time, he's in Pennsylvania, in US, right? His company is near Pittsburgh, one of the small kampong nearby. Yeah? So founders-led management. Everything was driven by the founder's vision and his hands-on, literally one at a time. He even arranged his books and whatnot, going to clubs, book clubs. So really hands-on. That's the epitome of a family business, A to Z. Yeah. In local culture, some Chinese call it the one-leg cake. So you do everything by yourself. So that is a kind of generation we are. The mission is about inspiring children to become a lifelong readers and learners, and unlocking an imaginative curiosity about themselves, and most importantly, and the world. It's about not just looking at yourself, but looking at other people, right? So that is how it was founded, from his father's home, parents' home, and Western Pennsylvania Scholastic is actually the first publication. It's not even a book, so it's a school magazine. So that's how it started. Very modest, very humble. Yeah. Here comes some of those publishing. Mr. Robinson went on then to publish the first book, rather than just classrooms, magazines, and some loose leaflets and whatnot. He went on to publish the first book, 1926. Yeah, shortly after he started the business. Okay, and the first book is called Saplings. Right. Here comes phase 2. We're all interested in how it grows, right? Here it comes. 20 years after he took helm on the company, 1940s to 1959, the next the couple of decades, the focus was really growing to overseas. Because the great thing about publication, especially for English, which is the most common language in the world, it's really about reaching out to the world. You get bigger markets, at the same time, benefit more children. So that mission actually bring him to overseas. The first country they went out to is actually Canada, next door. And so then after that will be to other countries. You can see the sort of a footprint. During the time, more different business model was invented along the way, besides the school magazines and some books. But he also launched scholastic book clubs. I don't dwell too details into it, but it's more on about how he reached out to the clubs, to the schools, and to have a very close relationship. Literally, it's like a star of the school, right? Anytime when there's new publication of magazines that come out, the school will be overjoyed. Wow, the new version is here. It's like now you're anticipating the new movie in the theater, and those are the joy at that time. Remember at that time, no computer, no internet, no nothing, right? It's really about printed material. Then he launched his international business in a big way. 1957, as I just shared. So Canada was the first country that he gone to next door, and after that to mostly you can see is the colonial countries, right? British colonial countries, including at those days Malaya, right? So different parts of the world. Okay. Phase 3, you can see Mr. Robinson's son, Richard, actually involved in the business since he was very young, after he graduated. So there is a lot of family influence from top down, and literally the bloodline was carried over in terms of the way of doing things, the mindset, what kind of books to publish. So the stewardship approach is very, very strong, whereby the Robinsons family literally expanded, the global expansion, focusing on what he believed, right? So it's very clear influence. It's not like some company when they grow overseas, to the global footprint, you can see the company actually transform into different shapes and whatnot. This is true and true the scholastic way. Yeah. So this is very unique about the company, and along the way there are many acquisitions. I just state some of those. I'm going to have more examples later on. I just mentioned Harry Potter. I believe many of us know also Hunger Games, Goosebumps, all sorts. Geronimo Stilton for the younger generation, if you guys like the cartoonist kind of comics, yeah. So there are a lot of great books being written or acquired along the way, yeah. Basically acquired the IP, the copyrights, yeah. So and then also there were a lot of professionalizing, which is the topic for today. How Mr. Robinson was very clear about how does he build a business, not just on his whims and fancy about, oh, this is what I think is right because I've seen it in the last. It's really about using very scientific way. Give an example. One of the biggest challenge for a publishing company is your inventory. Yeah, imagine Amazon started off by books, right? So that's how challenging it is. Books. A lot of titles, a lot of SKUs, a lot of versions. Every year is a new published, whatever. There's just so many SKUs. SKUs stand for stock keeping units, means that single item that differentiate one from another. So there are lots and lots of inventory, and these are the ones that you need really experts, right? Later on, when computers were introduced in the world, he also used computer scientists to do his business as well. So ERP and whatnot, yeah. So that is on the third phase, the next generation of leadership. And by professionalizing themselves, they were now thinking about, can Scholastic not entering the education in a lot more professional way? When I say education, not just a selling school magazine. Literally, you're talking about going into the school and share with the school that you have the entire end-to-end syllabus for English, for example, or mathematics. I was personally in charge of the business for Asia, so I knew that deeply in my heart. That is a very, very profound learning experience for myself as well. Understanding that if you use the right system, having the right Lexile skill, having the right learning technologies, you really will transform the learning outcomes of students. So that is so important that teachers or parents or yourselves to understand not just the knowledge itself, but how the knowledge is obtained, right? The pedagogies and all that stuff, yeah, which is not going to cover here. So that is about entering the education segment in a professional way, okay? Then, Mr. Richard Robinson became the president, and of course, very unique to this setup here is also to share with the students. You understand that to run the company, the executive leadership team will be led by a CEO, right? They are the business managers. However, the owners of a company is headed by the chairperson. So that's the difference here. So one is the owner, one is a business leadership. So it's different. So CEO is the highest paid job basically in the company. He or she may not necessarily own the business. In the case of Scholastic, the CEO, the president, the chairperson, same person. So if you're going to go through your learnings, you can find agencies conflicts, right? Where the manager want to optimize the whatever for themselves, but not necessarily in the interest of the owners. In this case, doesn't exist at all because the agent is the owner. So there's no agency conflict at all. So it's really interesting how this model works, right? Follow me so far? Okay. I'm not going to cover theories here. Your professors will be. Yeah, I'm just talking about the real life experience. Yeah. Then, Mr. Robinson is very clear about how he becomes successful. Now, that is the single most important thing that I believe. After working for so many different companies, so many years in my life, many businesses succeed without knowing why they succeed. I'll be honest. Yeah, they're there. They were like, there was a trend, the Chinese kid, there's a phone call, right? 某某东西都会飞起来, right? It's like, come on, is it really your skills? Or is it really just the trend was growing? So, in the case of Scholastic, it's so clear that Mr. Robinson knows in the last 101 years, despite what is going on, Mr. Robinson knows exactly what it takes to succeed in the book publishing, especially for children books. These are the 5 factors that we can summarize, just quickly just show you. Simplicity or originality. Children's, great children books are always very simple, right? Like you have all kinds of characters from a children's book is remembered until today, right? So there's very simple approach to how a book can be successful. It's really the single focus or the simple and original idea. So books like Goodnight Moon, Carrot Seed, those are some of those books that we can talk about this originality and simplicity. Emotional and personal connection. So the book must draw children, to into this world so that the child themselves, the reader, feel that they are actually part of the story. They are the character of the stories. Through the characters, they find themselves. So I think that's a very unique way of how a great book you can find connection. Now, one of the best of, the examples of is Harry Potter, right? And you can see all sorts of merchandise coming out from Harry Potter as well. You want to be, sometimes you have a different, I don't know, different schools and whatnot. I'm not a big fan of that, right? So you're going to follow all through and through. It's that character playing. I go into cosplay as well, I believe, right? So there's really a great followership about that. Now, that is how a character transforms. So children immerse themselves into the character learning, becomes them, right? So in a sense, it's also through the characters, they acquire the literacy and be able to read that. By the way, Harry Potter is not a basic a book where it's for the basic standard. It's really a difficult book to read. So if you are so passionate about being a character, you have acquired the highest level of literacy. Period. As simple as that. So that is why it's so important to have that original idea that the reader will get hooked on to it, right? Expands a child's world. Through books, you see different worlds, right? Even magical worlds, even whatever you can imagine, right? There's no limits into what the book can tell you. It's about the best thing about creativity. I think we all know that creativity is one of the most important skills in this century, right? So that is why reading books give you that, the window to improve your creativities, yeah? Humor, lightness, always the case, right? And fully realize world and emotional depth. So this is about helping the reader to be able to connect to his or her world in a unique way. So this is how it makes Scholastic different, yeah? Okay? Now, the next phase is about expansion via even more professionalism. Why do I say more professionalism? Because Scholastic finally got listed. So when it was listed, what happened here is there will be lots and lots of opportunity to be able to hire the world best, right? From your management team to access to funds and whatnot. So there is so much more where you can do as a listed company compared to to a privately held a company. So by doing that, Mr. Robinson bring the level of Scholastic to the next level, right? So the professionalism to the next level, including hiring myself, right? For example, some employees from another industry who can bring new ideas or new best practices to the company. So governance and control, it's really interesting. As I just shared with you, there's no agency conflicts because it's a very unique shareholding. I don't want to open up to this is a finance part of the Scholastic, whereby with a unique structure, the Robinsons family literally hold all the voting rights of a listed company, all of them. So there is one person can vote for the entire board of directors. Okay, so further expansion via new business development. Because of the available of fund, being a listed company, Scholastic now is the lion with wings, right? You can fly overseas. Seriously, very, very profoundly in terms of its growth. You can see the footprint is expanding to the world. Some of those countries have PE, permanent establishment, like Malaysia. Yeah, it's a regional center for Scholastic. Yeah. So, and expanded into different businesses, acquiring of new assets, for example, even school distribution business. If you see the last mile distribution about what your Shopee and Lazada or even Amazon, fulfillment by Amazon, the warehouse will look like as big as the cities. Nothing is new. It's as old as a mountain. Scholastic went into this distribution to ensure the last mile is taken care of. You guys understand, right? Last mile, right? That's the biggest bottleneck in many businesses. So the last mile is being taken care of. Hang on a minute. So far, am I doing okay? You guys following me? Right. So remember, you're talking about being listed, access to funds, the expertise and whatnot. Here comes along a very unique way of growing a family business. That is via acquisitions, right? Merger is about merging your company with another one. If you are able, you want to acquire. So this is exactly what happened to Scholastic. Acquisition. Grolier was at that time one of the biggest publishers in the US and the world. And they have a very unique business model, very unique footprint, which is complementary to Scholastic's. So now you ask, again, the learning points here. If you're a family business and you want to grow, the number one question is, okay, you found a problem in 1920s, you grow your way out organically. How do you now break through the bottleneck of organic growth? Answer, inorganic growth. Answer, acquisition. So this is what happened in Grolier. So Grolier was acquired by Scholastic, $400 million. I was very fortunate to be the vice president of Grolier Asia. So I knew this business inside out. So I understand why it is so great. So this is really a great acquisition because with the acquisition, not just the footprint can increase, the channels, also the intellectual property, the IPs, What is the biggest intellectual properties of a publishing company? Right? The book IPs, right? The book copyrights. That is the biggest one. So that is a big gain to Scholastic. And as you knew, when the Scholastic proposed to raise the fund to acquire Grolier, these are the actual words that you see in the stock exchange, published. Yeah? So projected operating income growth by 30%. Imagine if you are doing your organic growth. Is it easy to grow from 100 ringgit to 130 ringgit next year? Is it easy? Extremely difficult, right? Yeah, your best paying EPF is only giving you 6.3% and whatnot. So to grow 30% of your operating income are not sales. It's your bottom line. By 30% is a big deal. So that is why the acquisition was really, really successful. And it increased the customer base, and this is the key. It increased the customer base by 3 million parents with children less than 6 years old. Scholars say at that time when they enter the classrooms, the students and the customers base is more elder students, right? You know, like 10 or 6 to 12, right? The school going. What about those who are not in the school yet or in the preschool, right? Kindergarten and whatnot. That's a huge market. It's between 0 to 6. So that is where the complementary effects come in, okay? So the 0 to 6 is a huge base, and they are also, if you study customer life cycle in marketing, it's going to give you a longer life cycle, isn't it? From 0 to 12, if you're going to talk about children's books. Now from 6 to 12 or 7 to 12 of Scholastic's main business, now you can grow to 0 to 6 footprint instantly. So the 0 to 6, when a 6 years old customer, which is your eldest of let's say Grolier customers, can be migrated to become a Scholastic reader, isn't it? Into other books. So now you extend your life cycle, increase your customer base tremendously. So there's a lot of positive impacts coming from acquisition of customer base. Got me so far? Okay. Then a totally different business model, direct-to-home marketing, which is missing link of Scholastic. Direct-to-home, as you know, many years ago, you can see Grolier education consultant knocking the door, selling you encyclopedia or learning, I would say learning materials or learning system. Those are the one direct-to-home. Of course, nowadays, direct-to-home means you can sell it via your Shopee, Lazada, and all the online, platforms. Those days, person-to-person direct selling or direct-to-home is a very prominent model, and it's highly profitable and highly impactful as well. And that is also the big gain for Scholastic. School library expansion, we're talking about classrooms, right? It didn't mention anything in a big way about library. Well, library is big. What does that mean? Encyclopedia, right? Reference books, non-fiction, fictions, and whatnot. So furnish the library. That is on project basis, right? You can go one time, you can a couple of 100,000 easily, just on the books itself. So that's how big that gain could be. So it also broadened, the acquisition of Grolier also broadened international reach, and it strengthened the presence of Southeast Asia. And Malaysia happens to be the center, the regional center for Asia, especially on the Grolier business. Okay? So you can see that by doing the acquisition, you have so many pluses to the family business that you think was impossible when you started off in Pittsburgh. Now it is possible. You're moving to the world via these unique ways of doing. So this footprint increased the sales and distribution into the Southeast Asia, into the entire, you can see the Grolier sign, the logos there. These are the countries where the Grolier were operating. That is where I belong. Yeah. Here comes the next phase. It's all going so well in 101 years. What happened? Well, this is what happened. In 2021, totally unexpected, Mr. Robinson was in his, ping of health. All went well, and he was healthy, and suddenly this news came and shocks the literacy world. So his passing brings another question about family business. So, who inherit the family business? Isn't that in top of mind, right? From father to son. I did not mention anything about his grandchildren, right? Did I? Yes, I have not, indeed. This is what happened. This is where the phase number 6 that I define as succession crisis. Is this new to many family businesses? For those whom you know about family business, it's nothing new, right? Second generation, third generations have a lot of interesting views and challenges. You have a lot of theories to explain that. And you can also observe that, well, least expected it happened to a listed company as big as Scholastic too. In a turn of event, unexpectedly, shock to everybody, you can just Google it. You can see lots and lots of interesting news, which I don't need to show here. There's a non-family succession. To Yole Lucchese, who is not a family member. The relationship between Yole and Mr. Robinson, you go and search it out. The succession has broken down. So after 101 years, the family succession has been bypassed, just abruptly. Unannounced, unprepared, just like that. And to a person who is non-family, so now it passed on to a non-family control, i.e. Ms. Yole, and there is a governance gaps in between that transition. What's going on? You can see there's a disruption in the share price. There were some boards. There was some noise as well. So you can see that all in the news. So this is where, when I paint the picture to you all about how great a growth is about professionalizing the family business, this slipped through all the management controls, isn't it? Right? So something could have been done differently. If you could rewind back a couple of years ago, or even many years ago, for a company succession to be more prepared or to be more in place when this eventuality happens, yeah? And Mr. Robinson at the time of passing is 80, I believe 84, 80 plus years old, with no announced successor. He's a chairperson, he is the president, he's a CEO, he managed everything, including meeting his clients. So in the finance term, it's called the key man risk. One person control the entire company while that person is no longer here. How are you going to do and mitigate the risk when it happens? Here it goes, live. So what happened here? After a period of turmoil, and the company is now under the new leadership, namely Yole, and this is called the strategic renewal under the professional stewardship. She is a chief strategy officer of Scholastic before she took the helm as the chair of the board, just overnight, right? And she appointed Peter Warwick, who was a long-time board member of Scholastic. He actually retired and been called back to run the show. So this is two professional team now running a family business. So is this now a family business, or is it a different kind of business? So what happened here is unique to other, I believe, setup where family continue to run a third generations. In this case, Yole take it on to have a mission preservation. To continue to live and breathe the essence of Scholastic, i.e., focus on maintaining Scholastic educational legacy despite the ownership being changed. In fact, as of now, ex-wife and 2 sons are not in the picture, not in the inheritance, court case going on, right? And digital innovation continue to make Scholastic relevant in this century. So that is a huge transformation overall globally right now in terms of the footprint, how Scholastic adapt to the world right now with the AIs and whatnot, you name it, your ChatGPTs and all kinds of things that is going on. So digital innovation is a big thing going on right now in all angles of the business. And also adaptive governance. It shows that because of the change, she actually restructured quite a lot of things. A lot of businesses have been restructured, reappointment, new appointments along the way to ensure the going concern of the company. So, to conclude this, how's my time? Almost there. To conclude this, I would like to share a couple of lessons here. I'm not expert in family business consultancy, but this is what I observe. If you look at this business for the last 105 years, from a three perspective, first is the business, second, the family, third is ownership, which is called the three-circle framework, right? You can read that on your notes. From the very stable period between 1920 to 2021, you can see that 101 years was managed by just two chairpersons. And that's the point A. Stable stewardship, family-owned, family ownership, and even business is got it. So there's very clear cut in terms of how a business is being run. And as you see, a lot of examples to point to that. This is where we are now. Very unique situation. After 2021, when Yole came in to become the chairperson, post-succession, you can see, post-Robinson succession, you can see that family do not own at all, zero ownership of a family business in 2021. It's an abrupt change, okay? And that creates lots of tension, right? Between the family members now want to claim the ownership of a company and whatnot. And the saga is still going on. Okay, so that is the kind of things that can be so dynamic from a business point of view. So just to conclude everything that I've just spoken in the last 50 minutes, succession planning is extremely important. No matter how successful business you're running right now, you can see around the world, around Asia, from the richest man in Macau to richest person in somewhere else, you can see all this kind of succession could be a challenge. So this is a typical issues of a family business, no matter how big or small. In this case, it's a listed company. That can happen too. Succession planning is a very difficult thing to do, but it's important and it's necessary. So the second of all is about balance control versus professionalization. Professionalization takes place in this company, and I'm very glad about that. Actually, I was one of the professionals called into service. I was really excited about the opportunity. But at the same time, what about the ownership? What about the family control part of it, right? So that is important to understand where the family will play the role. Third but not least, about embracing the change, to sustain the growth. It did quite well in the first to second generation transition, but kind of challenged in the third generation, right? So the governance around how a company can be managed is extremely important. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you, class.